Welcome back to another episode of Rob Sports Center, man. Football season is officially started. As you can see by the title and by the thumbnail, I'm going to be breaking down some film on Trey Lance's game from the Hall of Fame game from the previous night. So we're going to get straight into it. So the very first play right here, they run a bootleg. And it's, obviously try to get the offensive line flowing one way, to get the defense think that they're going one way, and they roll out and go the opposite way. So what that does is it's almost kind of similar to like a RPO. It gives you a few options. Obviously, if depending on how the defense plays it, if everybody takes to the quarterback, it gives you throwing options. But then if everybody was to kind of stay a little disciplined and kind of stick to their guys, it would give the quarterback an option to be able to run the ball. So right here, you see that they commit to the thinking that it was a run play, and everybody gets kind of flowing one way, and Trey Lance just rolls out to the opposite way. But what made this play really work, though, honestly, was the tight end. If you look at him, wait till it start back over. So if you look at the tight end right here, he's going at battle right there with the lineman. Right there, and he just kind of slings the linebacker off. So he kind of held his position in terms of not showing himself as a receiver threat initially, just to kind of get behind the defense and kind of just get out of their sight, because they're assuming that he's blocking. And as soon as the opportunity presented itself, he was able to shake the linebacker off and be able to go out for a route. And Trey Lance was able to get the ball to him. But once again, too, I think that when it comes down to being like when we analyze quarterbacks, a lot of times I think we kind of just we think things in a sense. We make things much more complex than what it actually should be. So it's like right here, right, to me, this was just a simple play, right? And it just takes what the defense gives us. It wouldn't make any sense to try to go anywhere else with that ball. I mean, you might say, okay, you got the running back who was over in the flats. That might have been an option. Yeah, but he would have had to throw back across his body to get the ball across the field to him, right? And that gives the defense plenty of time to be able to drive downhill and make a play on the ball. But right here, he just takes simply what the defense give him. They get the matchup they wanted with the tight end. He's able to shake free from coverage, and Trey Lance just puts it on him right there for easy completion, and he puts it in a position to where he can catch it and even gain some yards after the catch. So right here on this play, we got a red area touchdown. So obviously, in the red area, the easiest way or the idealistic way to get the ball into the end zone would be running the ball. Obviously, for reasons being that when you're in the red area, everything becomes so much tight, it becomes so much condensed, and you don't have the length of the field to work with. So your options kind of become limited. Not limitless. Your options become limited on what you can do. And obviously, when you're dealing with mobile quarterbacks, guys like Trey Lance that can run the ball, you have to take into consideration the threat of them being able to run it. So once again, just like on the previous play, they run another bootleg. Now, I was kind of looking at this handoff, because this handoff to me, it didn't really look convincing of, that they were trying to, that it would have been a possibility of them running the ball, just looking at the positioning from the quarterback to the running back. Now, granted, I get it in the game, it's probably flowing much faster than what it seems just breaking down the film. But to me, that was something I kind of was just looking at. Even when I saw it live the first time, I was like, man, that kind of like that was a little bit miscommunication. But once again, the tight end does a good job as well at being a decoy. He shows as if he's going to go off to block. And then once Trey Lance rolls out, and they kind of did it with perfect timing. As soon as Trey Lance rolled out, he pretty much was running. He pretty much went into his pass route at that time. And then at that point, he had already had the cornerback in the trail position, because the cornerback was coming downhill as if he was probably going to either try to set the edge or try to make the tackle if it was going to be to the running back, or even try to make the tackle on Trey Lance if he would have been the one that ended up keeping it. But right here, they do it. Like I said, they just do a good job at executing right there. I mean, Detroit played this as good as you can play it. I mean, you did, even with them being able to keep outside containment, prevent Trey Lance from being able to run the ball. It's just obviously when you got a situation like that with a tight end is showing that he's going to be going out the block and then end up running a route, it kind of can catch you off guard as a defense, especially like I said in the red area, because any game is a touchdown. Whether it's depending on the spot of the ball, a 3-yard gain could be a touchdown, a 2-yard gain could be a touchdown. Whereas when you at the long length of the field, or you having to work, the length of the field, those runs and those plays like that aren't really that significant unless it's a 3rd down or it's a 4th down play. But then also too, Trey Lance just does a good job at just being able to kind of just float it over the DB's head and put it, to where it was out of reach with him. He wasn't even able to get a fingertip on the ball. So that was just a good pass as well. And one of the things I've noticed too about that, like just watching Trey Lance in this game, was just the calm, demeanor that he had in the pocket. He didn't really look rattled. He didn't really look shook. He looked confident. He looked calm back there, and they kind of translated to his play on the field. So right here on this first down play, they send the fullback in motion. I don't know, that might be a fullback or a tight end, but it's like a fullback. They send the fullback in motion, and if you notice that the linebacker didn't follow him. See, if the linebacker would have followed him, that would have been an indication that it would have been man-to-man coverage. So that kind of gives you a pre-snap read of what the defense is in. He just kind of bumps down and just, gets towards the line of scrimmage. So when you think about it from that perspective, so you see that it's not man-to-man coverage. When you're looking at the shell-wise, I mean, obviously it's kind of out of camera, but it looks like it's a two-man shell. I was going based off of the people I was able to count, and I was able to count 10 guys, but the 11 guy was unaccounted for, and that would have been the other safety. So it looks like to me that they were in some type of cover four, with four deep defenders, because if you look at all of the space underneath. Now, the thing about that, to attack a cover three, cover four, anything that's trying to take away the deep ball, you have opportunities underneath to be able to attack, with little quick catch and run throws, just like how they did right here. And it goes back to what I was saying. If you look at him, he kind of scanned the field, downfield, middle of the field, and was looking and didn't see anything down there, obviously because they were in a four deep zone. So he just took the check down route, which was underneath. And the thing is this. It's a first down play, so we don't have to it's not a gotta have it situation, because if we don't get it here, we still got second down, then we still got third down. So we don't want to put ourselves in a bad position to create an unnecessary turnover or to just take an unnecessary sack. So if it's not there, just take the check down, and that's exactly what he does right here. He scans the field, see that there wasn't nothing down, and he just took underneath. And then and for one, the linebacker dropped off, but then I was like, but even if the linebacker would have followed, you got your running back matched up on a linebacker in a pass situation. More times than not, the odds favor the running back. So based off of this formation right here, it looks like they were in a cover one, which would be a single high safety, but it'll be man all across the board. Only person you have deep would be that safety, and he would just be patrolling, trying to read the quarterback's eyes and kind of trying to stay on top of anything that's going to be attacking vertically down the field, like this play right here. They sent the 6-man pressure. The running back did a darn good job, number 34, of being able to pick up that blitz and allow for Trey Lance to be able to throw the ball and to get a shot to throw the ball. And Trey Lance did a good job at just being able to kind of put the ball out there for his receiver to make a play. He was able to put it in a position, and he did a good job at kind of keeping the safety at bay with his eyes. Like I say, because you got to take into consideration, he also had a route that was breaking across the middle right here with number 86. So he gave you the loot, and rightfully so, because that could have possibly that would have been a completion for a catch and run. But obviously, if we get an idealistic matchup on the outside, then that would probably be a little bit more favorable because of the position of where I can place the ball. I can place the ball over the top, over his outside, going towards his outside shoulder, to be able to protect him from the safety being able to make a hit or just even being able to make a play on the ball. And you can tell that obviously he's seen that the guy had a step on him, just like he did right there, and he just did a good job at just putting it on him, with allowing him to have time to be able to secure the catch before go out of bounds, but then also too just allowing for him to not have to worry about taking the hit from the safety coming across the top. So right here, this looked like some type of zone play. If you look at the defenders, even the corners, everybody's eyes is back to the quarterback. So most of the time, that indicates that they're in some type of zone coverage, because if it was man-to-man, their eyes for the most part would be locked in on their guys, because you're covering a guy opposed to covering a space. So he just does a good job at keeping his eyes downfield. They only sent the 4-man rush on him, so he had enough time to be able to sit back in the pocket and go through his reads. So he actually had the running back there for a check down, So that would have been a safer option, would have been just getting the ball to the running back, being, kind of just understanding the situation where it's like, okay, it's not necessarily a gotta have it situation. So if the opportunity presents itself downfield, then yeah, we're gonna take it. But if I have any reason to hesitate, or if I have any reason to believe that we're not gonna, that wouldn't be a high percentage throw, then obviously we would do what would be best for the team and just taking a safer route, live to fight another day. But he just did a good job at keeping his eyes downfield and then finding a tight end. He did a good job of just putting the ball on the tight end right there. He kind of put it in between the numbers, so it was a good throw. And then, like I said, man, just the cool, calm demeanor to him, man. That's, for me, that was the biggest thing that kind of just stood out to me. And it looked like, too, I've seen that they've been incorporating a lot of play action, whether it was play action there from the shotgun or whether it was him being under center and just doing like a boot and rolling out. So a lot of what they've been doing in terms of them passing the ball has been through that. But the only way that you get that to work is by establishing yourself that, okay, we can run the ball and we are a threat running the ball. That's the only way that the defense bites down on that. So I didn't watch the game as a whole to really just see how effective they was running the ball, but I did notice that a lot of his throws that I have been breaking down have been coming from play action passes. So this was another play where they did a rollout situation, but I just kind of like this camera angle. So if you look and pay attention, once again, he's utilizing his eyes. So look at how he has two guys within the vicinity. You have the guy over the top, and then you kind of have the guy underneath. And the running back you have that comes in the frame, he kind of just stops at it right there, opposed to keep working across. So Trey Lance, if you look now, I'm not quite sure if he did that intentionally or it just happened to happen the way that it happened, but it looked like he did a good job at kind of keeping the defenders at bay with his eyes, because obviously look like they were reading his eyes. They're trying to see exactly where he's throwing the ball to. So they're not really looking at, they're not really looking at their guy. So like, once again, they were in some type of zone coverage. But even when you look, as soon as the running back stopped, it's like he had already had the ball getting ready to be released as the receiver stopped, and he just did a good job at kind of keeping them at bay and then throwing the ball. And even when you look at how they were lined up, you got the running back right there. It still like it was a possibility that he would have been throwing it over the top going to the receiver, but he just did a good job. And once again, man, taking what the defense gave him. And, obviously the running back did a good job too of kind of identifying the situation. You see that my quarterback is running and you see the eyes on him. So let me just stop where I'm at and create a throwing lane for him like they did right here. And they just, they was able to hook up for an easy completion. So right here, man, we got a gotta have a situation. Now, if you watch my videos regularly, you know how much I always talk about when you get in the red area. Well, I talk about gotta have a situations, period, which gotta have a situations are more times than not. Third down, we got to get a third down conversion to keep the drive alive. Fourth down, we got to get a fourth down conversion to make sure that for one, we keep the drive alive, but we don't put our defense in a compromising position based off field position, right? So I always say that when you get to the red area, to me, every possession is a gotta have it possession, because when you get down there, for one, it's hard to get to the red area. So when you get to the red area, you want to make sure that you're capitalizing off of that, whether coming up with some form of points, whether it be a touchdown or whether it be a field goal. But preferably, obviously, you'll rather be able to get a touchdown, but you would take the field goal. So obviously, you know that if it's a gotta have a situation for the offense, it's a gotta have a situation for the defense. So they pretty much just say, okay, we're gonna send an all-out blitz. We're gonna see how your quarterback is gonna respond, how he's gonna handle this pressure, and is he gonna be composed enough to make the right decision. So when it comes to man-to-man, this right here was a cover zero, meaning there was no over-the-top help. Everything was just man across the board. I got this, man. So to beat a man-to-man coverage, you try to find a favorable matchup, whether that be via size, whether that be via speed, etc. It's a multitude of things that you can kind of look at, or if you can get a mismatch, if you can get a tight end lined up on a linebacker or a running back lined up on a linebacker, those are the things that you look to exploit in man-to-man coverage. So right here, they just had the receiver lined up on the outside, on the single receiver side. His split was tighter closer to the line of scrimmage, so they gave him options on what he can do, opposed to him being lined up much wider, and you have that sideline you have to worry about. Now he has a multitude of things that he can do. The route, the route tree is limitless in this situation, but he just does a good job, man, of just beating the corner. Honestly, man, just giving him a hard fake inside. Obviously, if you see, this is another thing we always talk about too, about receivers, that whenever you're making your moves, you never want to make your moves stationary. You want to make your moves as you're moving too, because you want to close the distance on the space. You want to make him have to react. And if you look at it, when he was making his move all the way up until he gave a fake to the outside, stuck his foot in the ground and ran a slant, he had the cornerback commit to the outside because he was anticipating that it might would have been something outside. And you think about it, the setup was nice, because if you see a receiver lined up with a tight split, more times than not, you're probably going to figure that it's going to be something out breaking. So that's what he did. And he jumped out and, just allowed for the receiver just to get inside, with relative ease. And Trey Lance just did a good job in terms of the ball placement, putting the ball in a position where the receiver can catch it, boom, and get directly upfield, not having to try to readjust, catching it behind him, not having to try to, move forward more, trying to catch it because it was thrown too far ahead of him. He just does a good job at putting it right there on the money for him and for an easy catch and run touchdown. Like I said, man, even on this play with a 7-man pressure, man, once again, he did a good job at, knowing where he wanted to go, because obviously if you're looking at it, everybody's around the line of scrimmage, so you pretty much anticipate that this could be a blitz. And obviously, you're probably going to shift your offensive line to the threat of which you see that it's coming from. I'm pretty sure he probably didn't anticipate the other linebacker to come in on the blitz. He probably was just expecting everybody that was on the line. And sometimes they can be confusing too, because some teams will show that but then drop back into coverage. Now, I know I'm going into a lot of stuff, but man, when I get to talking ball, I'll be loving talking to it, and I want to make sure I'm giving y'all the best product that y'all can get clicking on my videos. So I know a lot of times I kind of of rambling on the detail. But man, the attention is into the detail. Everything is intentional, man, when it comes to football, sports period, but especially with the sport of football. But man, tell me what you guys think in the comments about him. You know, did you like his demeanor? Did you like what you seen from him? Obviously, we know that they tried to keep things simple by being preseason. So I like what I seen from him for the freedom they gave him in terms of what they called up and what they drew up for him. So, you know, I enjoyed what I seen from him. So I look forward to seeing a little bit more from him in the preseason, see what he kind of brings to the table, see if he could potentially put himself in a position maybe going into next year. I don't know how long he signed with the Chargers to possibly be a starting NFL quarterback again. But man, that's it for this video. If you did enjoy this video, do me a big favor, man. Smash that thumbs up button. Also, if you're new to the channel, man, make sure you subscribe. And when you subscribe, make sure that notification bell is on. That way you be notified every time I upload. And I'll see y'all in the next video.